History does not begin with explosions. It begins with silence. The political conflict between the United States and the Korean Peninsula traces back to the ashes of World War II. When Japan surrendered in 1945, Korea, once under Japanese occupation, was suddenly divided along the 38th parallel. The northern half fell under Soviet influence, while the southern half came under American protection. Two governments emerged. In the north, a communist state formed under Kim Il-sung. In the south, a US-backed republic developed under Syngman Rhee. The division was meant to be temporary. It never was. The war that froze time. In 1950, the silence shattered. North Korean forces crossed the 38th parallel, invading South Korea. The United States, under President Harry S. Truman, intervened under a United Nations banner. What followed was the devastating Korean War. 3 years of brutal fighting ended not with peace, but with an armistice. No official peace treaty was ever signed. Technically, the war never ended. The Demilitarized Zone, DMZ, became one of the most heavily guarded borders on Earth, a scar across a divided nation. The nuclear shadow. For decades, the conflict simmered. South Korea aligned with Washington, becoming one of America's strongest Asian allies. Meanwhile, North Korea isolated itself, ruled by the Kim dynasty. When Kim Jong-il came to power, North Korea accelerated its missile and nuclear programs. But it was under his son, Kim Jong-un, that tensions dramatically escalated. By 2017, North Korea had tested intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of reaching the United States. American cities were suddenly within theoretical range. The threat felt real. The nuclear shadow. For decades, the conflict simmered. South Korea aligned with Washington, becoming one of America's strongest Asian allies. Meanwhile, North Korea isolated itself, ruled by the Kim dynasty. When Kim Jong-il came to power, North Korea accelerated its missile and nuclear programs. But it was under his son, Kim Jong-un, that tensions dramatically escalated. By 2017, North Korea had tested intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of reaching the United States. American cities were suddenly within theoretical range. The threat felt real. Enter Donald Trump. In 2017, Donald Trump took office. Known for his bold rhetoric and unconventional diplomacy, Trump faced the most intense North Korean nuclear crisis in decades. The world watched as words flew like missiles. Trump warned of fire and fury. Kim responded with threats of nuclear devastation. Global markets trembled. Military forces in the Pacific moved into readiness. Many feared that one miscalculation could trigger catastrophe. A historic meeting. Then, something unexpected happened. In 2018, Trump and Kim met in Singapore, the first time a sitting US president had ever met a North Korean leader face-to-face. The world saw images that once seemed impossible. The American and North Korean flags side by side. The handshake made headlines worldwide. Was this the beginning of peace or strategic theater? While the Singapore summit created hope, denuclearization negotiations stalled. Sanctions remained. North Korea continued weapons development, though at a slower public pace. Diplomacy had replaced insults, but distrust remained.
South Korea's role. While the United States and North Korea exchanged words, South Korea walked a careful line. Leaders in Seoul worked to reduce tensions, hosting inter-Korean talks and family reunions. The alliance between the US and South Korea remained firm, reinforced by joint military exercises and economic partnerships. South Korea had transformed itself from a war-torn nation into a global technology powerhouse, home to giants like Samsung and Hyundai. It was proof that the Southern path had worked. North Korea, however, remained closed, militarized, and heavily sanctioned. Two Koreas. Two futures. The question of power. Today, tensions still exist, though the style has changed. Trump, even after his presidency, continues to influence American foreign policy debates. He often highlights his personal diplomacy with Kim as proof that strong leadership prevents war. Kim Jong-un continues missile testing, strengthening North Korea's strategic position. His regime frames nuclear weapons not as aggression, but as survival. Both leaders understand one thing clearly. Nuclear capability equals leverage. And leverage equals power. Are they trying to control the world? The phrase, "control the world," makes dramatic headlines. But geopolitics is rarely that simple. For the United States, the goal has long been stability, deterrence, and protecting allies, especially South Korea and Japan. For North Korea, survival of the regime is paramount. Nuclear weapons are seen as protection against foreign intervention. This isn't a comic book battle between good and evil. It's a chess match between security, pride, influence, and legacy. Trump's strategy emphasized direct negotiation combined with pressure. Kim's strategy focuses on strategic patience and military development. Each move is calculated. Each speech is analyzed. Each missile test sends a message. The global impact. This conflict affects more than just two countries. China watches closely. Russia calculates quietly. Japan strengthens defense systems. The United Nations calls for restraint. Energy markets, trade routes, military alliances, all are influenced by the Korean Peninsula. When North Korea launches a missile, the world notices. When Washington responds, global headlines follow. The balance of power in Asia is one of the most important strategic issues of the 21st century. The American perspective. For Americans, the conflict raises serious questions. How should the US deal with nuclear-armed adversaries? Is diplomacy stronger than sanctions? Can personal leadership change decades of hostility? Should America continue military presence in South Korea? These debates shape elections, defense budgets, and foreign policy strategy. Some Americans praised Trump's bold diplomacy. Others criticized it as legitimizing a dictatorship. But nearly everyone agrees on one thing. War would be catastrophic. A fragile future. The Korean Peninsula remains one of the last active flashpoints of the Cold War era. Missile tests continue periodically. Military drills continue. Sanctions remain. But so does dialogue, sometimes quietly, behind closed doors. The future could go in many directions. Renewed negotiations. Stronger deterrence. Economic shifts. Or renewed escalation. The story is still being written. The bigger lesson. The conflict between the United States and North Korea did not begin with Trump or Kim Jong-un. It began with a divided peninsula in 1945. It survived a devastating war in 1950. It evolved through decades of Cold War tension. Today, it reflects a changing global order, where rising powers challenge old ones, and nuclear weapons redefine what conflict looks like. Trump and Kim may dominate headlines, but the real issue is deeper. How does the world manage power in the nuclear age? How do rivals compete without destroying each other? How do leaders balance strength with restraint? Final thought. History teaches us something powerful. Most conflicts are not decided by one speech, one summit, or one missile launch. They are shaped by patience, policy, and the will of nations. The Korean Peninsula remains divided, but not forgotten. And as America looks toward the future, one truth remains clear. Peace is not guaranteed. It must be negotiated, protected, and constantly defended. The story continues.